Officer Fournie, would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm Officer Bridget Fournie, working in the downtown bicycle unit.
And Officer Fournie, how long have you been with the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department?
Going on 14 years.
Okay. And how long have you been assigned to the downtown bike unit?
I believe about 7 or 8 years.
What is the downtown bike unit?
We're a directed patrol unit that strictly patrols on bicycles around between the baseball stadium, the hockey arena, and the dome. Is the easiest parameters I can give.
Okay. Are there occasions where you use patrol vehicles other than bicycles?
Yes, sir. When it's cold, rainy.
Okay. And approximately how many officers are with the bike unit?
Currently, there's a total of 7.
Okay. Officer Fournie, are you familiar with the intersection of North 11th Street and St. Charles Street?
Yes.
Okay. Can you just, for reference, indicate where that is relative to a landmark downtown?
It's approximately 4 blocks east of the Hockey Arena Enterprise Center and 6 or 8 blocks north.
Okay. Officer Fournie, are you able to see that from where you're seated?
Yes.
So I think the one that's up there right now is marked right at identification of State Exhibit 2. Do you recognize what we see in that exhibit?
Yes, I do.
Does that fairly and accurately depict the intersection of North 11th Street and St. Charles Street?
Yes.
Okay. Let me show you what's marked for identification of State Exhibit 3. Are you able to see State Exhibit 3 from where you're seated?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Does that photo also fairly and accurately depict that intersection?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Just so we have all of them, I'm going to show you marked for identification of State Exhibit 4, and it's that same intersection. Can you see that from where you're seated?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And again, does that fairly and accurately depict that intersection of North 11th Street and St. Charles Street?
Yes, it does.
Okay. All right, this doesn't say we move to admit exhibits 2, 3, and 4.
All right, 2, 3, and 4 will be admitted. They're already published.
Officer Fournie, on February 18th of 2023, did you respond to a call for service in the vicinity of that intersection?
Yes, I did.
And what were you doing at the time that you became aware of that call?
We were in our bike office, which is approximately at 1304 Lucas, near 14th and Washington, and we actually saw the call come over our computer right before we got dispatched.
Okay. And who were you with at the time in the bike office?
Officer Jake Stein and Sergeant Mike Marks.
Okay. And when that call comes in, what do you do?
We saw the call was for a vehicle that had drove into a crowd of people, and we immediately hopped in our patrol car, all 3 of us together, and went emergency lights and sirens to the intersection.
In your time as a police officer, have you responded to other motor vehicle collisions?
Yes, sir.
Can you say approximately how many?
I couldn't give you a total.
Okay. Just say it was more than or fewer than 50?
More than 50.
Okay. More than 100?
Probably, yes.
Okay. And in terms of your training, what is your procedure when you respond to that sort of call?
We do go emergency lights and sirens to those kind of incidents. And when we arrived, the EMS fire had already blocked several streets off prior to our arrival.
Okay. And what is the first thing what do you see in general? Describe what you see when you arrive on the scene.
I exit the police vehicle and start approaching 11th and St. Charles, and I see a young girl on the ground directly next to a parked vehicle. And then I see another individual with his hands tightly gripping a belt that were wrapped around his grips.
Okay. And can you describe, in reference to that exhibit, State's Exhibit 4, where those people were that you saw?
They were on the northwest corner of the intersection.
Okay. And as that picture's oriented north, is that about the top left of that? Is that right?
That is clear.
Okay. And then what was the next thing? Were you able to determine, did you see any vehicles that appeared that they had been involved in a collision?
Several. There was a white sedan facing northbound on 11th, and then there was an overturned vehicle about halfway up the block on St. Charles, and additional damage to the car that she was laying next to.
Okay. At some point, did you approach that overturned vehicle?
I did. After I saw the girl was receiving medical attention, that's out of my realm of capabilities, and I walked away from there and went directly down to the overturned car.
Okay. At any point, were you able to locate the driver of that overturned vehicle?
I did.
Okay, and how did you determine who that driver was?
There was my sergeant actually kind of pointed him out initially. People were milling around, and I went and asked him. I said, "Are you the driver of this car?" And he said, "Yes."
Okay, and was that person later taken into custody?
Yes, he was.
Do you see that person in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Can you describe what he's wearing and indicate where he's seated?
He's wearing a black jacket, and he's seated directly to the left of.
We're going to stipulate to
So noted, and he has been identified by the witness.
After you determined who the driver of that vehicle was, did you attempt to obtain a statement from that person?
I did. I gathered all of his pertinent identification information, the vehicle, and then a statement from him about what he recalls happening.
Okay, with respect to the vehicle,
approximately 15 to 20 miles an hour.
okay. Now, in your experience of investigating over 100 collisions yourself, was there anything about that that caught your attention?
That kind of speed would definitely not have that kind of impact for a vehicle to get projected that far up the roadway.
I'm going to publish State's Exhibit 11. Can you see that from where you are?
Yes, I can.
Officer Fournie, do you see those yellow circles on State's Exhibit 11?
I do.
And can you tell the jury what that yellow circle, what's in that yellow circle farthest to the left?
Farthest to the left is the upside-down vehicle.
Okay. And so when you were referring to the distance, where was it? Is the other vehicle that, I guess, where are the other vehicles that were involved in the collision depicted in that image?
They're still in the intersection of 11th and St. Charles.
Okay. So you were referring to the distance from the intersection that the alley was found?
That's clear.
Okay. With respect to, did the defendant indicate that he had blacked out or lost consciousness at some point?
He briefly mentioned that he did, but it was after the impact.
Okay. Can you describe the defendant's demeanor at this scene when you spoke with him?
He was kind of frantically looking for cell phones.
And where was he looking for those?
He was concerned about them being in the vehicle and he couldn't locate them.
Okay. Did you see the defendant approach any of the people who were injured in that collision?
No, he did not.
Did he express, did he ask you about the condition of anyone?
No, he did not.
Okay. With respect to the other senses, smell or sight, was there anything else you noticed about the defendant?
He was a little slow to react, and I could smell a significant odor of marijuana on his clothing.
Okay. Was the defendant in possession of any personal articles or containers?
He had a satchel across his body.
Okay. Were you present?
Before we go, can I have the attorney's approach?
Officer Fournie, I'm sorry. Officer Fournie, were you present at any point when that container was opened?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Did the defendant make a statement about referring to the contents of that container?
He did.
And what did he say?
He said there's just some weed in there.
Okay. After, at some point, was the defendant transported to the hospital?
Yes, he was.
Why?
He was having, he complained of low back or upper back pain.
Okay. And are you aware whether he was evaluated if he was fit for confinement?
I do not know if that was obtained by other officers.
Okay. Did you have any conversation with the defendant, or were you present when the defendant made any statements at the hospital?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you hear from the defendant at the hospital?
He referred to something about a class charge felony and made the statement that that wasn't going to stick.
No further questions, Judge.
Ross?
So, first, in preparation for your testimony today, did you go over your body camera footage?
Yes, I did.
And when did you do that?
Last week and today.
And did that help kind of sort of put you back into perspective about what was going on that day?
Yes.
Okay. Did you read any police reports about this?
No, I did not.
Did you write them?
No, I did not.
You arrived with Stein at the same time, right?
That's correct.
Were you aware that Stein had actually operated or engaged his body-worn camera before you got to the scene?
I'm not sure. No.
When you do activate your body-worn camera, it tells you that it's recording, correct?
Yes, it does.
And you know, did you view his body camera footage prior to today?
No, I did not.
When you got there, you saw that there was a Malibu and the front end of it was crushed, correct?
I'm not sure what the make and model was of the white sedan.
White sedan?
Is that what-
That white sedan had been damaged on the front end.
Yes.
Okay. And that would have been, I guess, consistent with the idea that whatever damage had been done, it was done to the front end of that car, correct?
Of the Chevy Malibu, yes.
Yeah. And that would have been, I guess, in your experience, probably consistent then with the damage on a car where it might have run into something just with its front end.
No. You mean as far as the Malibu ran into something with just its front end?
Yes.
That's clear.
Okay. So there was no, you got to walk around the Malibu, right?
I did not know.
Okay. But what you saw when you walked up, pull that up. It's image 4. Would have been consistent with that front end of that Malibu smashing into something.
That's clear. It would have. Yes.
You were maybe just slightly ahead of Stein as you were walking up, or do you remember that?
I don't recall.
You did go down, and I think you may have checked out the Audi with Sergeant Marks.
That's clear.
Could you get some, putting that in its image number 4? It's one of the scene pictures, front end of the Malibu. It's all right. We'll just move on for a second. When you did walk up, at some point in time, you did activate your body-worn camera after you'd gone up to the Audi and then you were coming back, right?
No, I had activated it prior.
Okay. But it takes a minute or a moment or two for it to try and, I guess, start recording, correct?
That's clear.
Sound doesn't actually record for about 30 seconds,
That's correct.
okay? And then, but the camera's running the entire time, correct?
Once it started, yes.
Okay. Do you remember when you were coming back from the Audi that Marks was already with a couple of individuals?
I don't recall.
Would looking at the video help refresh your recollection on that?
Sure.
This is 47 seconds.
Which camera is this?
This is her camera. Oh, it's not. Hang on. It's this way. No, hold on. We'll find it. Well, just looking at the still, can you see that Marks is around a couple of different people?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Does that help refresh your recollection that we might have been talking to a couple of folks right there?
I wasn't particularly paying attention to what Sergeant Marks was doing.
Do you recognize who those two people were that were near Marks in that photograph?
Yes, I do.
And who was the guy in the black puffy jacket?
That would be Dan Riley, Mr. Riley.
Okay. And then there was a guy in a gray jacket that was standing by as well. Is that right?
Yes.
And did you get his information at some point?
I did, yes.
Okay. Do you recall overhearing anything about what Marks was discussing with those two individuals?
I did not. I was not close enough.
What were you? Sometimes your body mics are a little sensitive. Do you recall if your body mic might have picked it up?
No, I don't.
Okay. Did you watch your entire video?
Yes.
Okay. All right, moving on from that. After you kind of sort of walked past Marks when he was talking to those two individuals, do you recall what Marks said to you?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you recall him saying driver, passenger, or I'm sorry, driver of the Audi? You don't recall that?
No, I don't. Do you think watching the first couple minutes of your body on camera might help refresh your recollection about what was going on there? Yes.
Okay. So this is the first few minutes of her body on camera.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know remember what the question was. Yeah.
Wait, she couldn't remember if Marks had told her what to do.
Hold on. What is the question that you're trying to refresh her memory on?
Whether or not Marks directed her to the people there and identified Damon as the driver.
Whether he directed her to them?
Yes.
All right. So you don't, ma'am, you don't know the answer of whether you were directed to the people?
By Sergeant Marks? No, I don't. I know somebody had said something about it,
Okay.
but
See if this helps refresh her.
there's no audio.
Oh. Maybe we need to turn it up. What?
I just have it on mute.
Oh. It's on mute. I apologize. Where's it? You heard me? Okay, hold on. 'Cause I know your sound turns on after 30 seconds. 4 more seconds and shoot your sound. There you go. That help?
Yes.
Okay. And so what happened at that point? It's about a minute and a half into your body-worn camera.
I was on scene and actually determined that he was the driver of the car before Sergeant Marks directed me.
Oh, you'd already known that?
Yes,
Okay. But Mark's told you to interview him, is that correct?
that's correct.
All right. Also, in listening to that, do you recall now hearing what Marks was talking about with those other folks as you passed by?
They were talking about the collision and which direction of travel they were,
And that
which
was,
God was going.
okay, and that was the guy in the gray that you later identified as Trent Wissington was talking to Marks about it, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And Daniel was standing right there too?
That's correct.
Looks like Daniel was on a phone.
Yes, he was.
Did you later determine where that phone came from?
I have no idea.
Do you remember that he handed it back as he was being arrested to the guy from the hotel?
Yes, he did.
Okay. So you did determine where it was coming from, the phone?
Just because he handed it to him, I didn't assume it was his phone.
Okay. So you asked Daniel if he's alone, right?
That's correct.
You asked him about whether or not he had insurance.
Yes.
I think you verified. You said, that's a nice rental car, bud.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. At that point, you were joined by a fireman, right?
That's correct.
And the fireman asked if you had lost consciousness?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And what was the fireman doing to help Daniel kind of sort of calm down? Was he telling him to take deep breaths?
Yes, he was telling him to breathe and slow down, but he was also on the phone at the same time.
Okay. And he was telling him to take deep breaths, so, right?
That's correct.
He actually said take deep breaths because of the adrenaline.
Yes.
All right. Did he seem dazed and confused at that point?
No.
Okay. Was he reeking a pot at that point?
Yes.
Did you point that out to somebody later on your body-worn camera and say, hey, Daniel smells like pot?
No, he did not.
No. You got Daniel's information,
That's correct.
and did he smell of alcohol?
No.
Did you perform a field sobriety test on him?
No, I did not.
Did you call in a drug recognition expert?
No, I did not.
At some point while you're with Daniel, this pestering tow truck driver showed up again, right?
Yes, he did.
And what did he tell you?
At which time of the interaction?
first time.
The first time that he was towing the.
Calls for hearsay.
It's not for the truth of the matter, it's just that he's pestering.
Yeah. Your objection is hearsay. What is your exception?
It doesn't go for the truth of the matter, asserted. It's just that he's there kind of sort of interfering.
All right, I think we've established that, so
All right.
move on.
So he had come up and he kind of sort of inserted himself and you tried to get him out of the scene.
That's correct.
And even after you told him to get out of the scene, he came back and was trying to ask Daniel if he could tow his car.
He did.
All right. Do you know if he towed that any of the cars there from the scene?
He did not.
Road, thanks, Karen.
And what is the relevance of,
It's possible chain of custody with the car study, that's all.
let's move on.
Okay. Did you see Daniel hand the phone to the guy in the gray that you identified as the hotel worker so that he could unlock it?
No, I did not.
Would watching the video of that help a little bit?
If you're going to have to check the relevance at that point,
What's the relevance, Mr. Deemer?
But it's not his phone.
I'll allow.
506. Did that help with pressure recollection?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And is it true that Daniel had handed the phone back to the hotel guy?
Daniel handed the phone back to the hotel guy, but I couldn't tell you if he was unlocking her phone or what he was doing with her phone.
Okay. Did it appear like he might have needed some assistance doing something with the phone?
He was doing something. He asked him to do something. I couldn't tell you what it was.
You acknowledged a little bit earlier in that video that that Daniel didn't have his phone.
He claimed
So you say in front of Daniel, you don't know where that girl was? Question mark. And the answer from Daniel was what?
They both thought that she was inside a white vehicle.
And then you made a statement to him that she could not have been in that car. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What was Daniel's reaction?
Surprised, shocked.
In fact, he asked you, are you kidding me? Are you serious?
That's correct.
Daniel told you that he thought that she was in the white car. Is that correct?
Yes.
At that point, you begin an interview with Mr. Wissington.
Yes.
You get his name, right?
Yes.
You get his address.
Correct.
You get his phone number.
Yes.
You write that down on a piece of paper.
Yes.
When he was actually giving you his address, Daniel interjected because he started to give you the wrong address. Is that correct?
No, Daniel didn't interject. Mr. Wissington started giving me the wrong numerics, and then he corrected himself.
And then didn't Daniel help him out that he was giving the wrong street address, that it was 1000 Washington?
No.
Would it help refresh your recollection to look at that?
Hold on, she didn't say she didn't remember.
Okay.
So, refresh her memory.
Would listening and watching your MP4 video,
It's still the same thing, she did not say she did not remember, so there's no refreshing. She said no.
you're saying he did not say that?
No.
Are you agreeing with me that Daniel said he was only going 15 to 20 miles an hour when you asked him how fast he was going?
Who was the he you're referring to?
He being Daniel.
That I was, what do you mean agreeing with you? Clarify your question.
Did he say that he was going 15 to 20 miles an hour?
That was his initial statement to me, yes.
Did he ever vary from that statement?
Yes, he did.
You said he was going faster?
He said he would changed it from 20 to 30.
When did he say that on your video?
It wasn't on my body camera video.
Whoa, when was that?
That would have been at some point later, actually in the hospital.
He told you that he was going faster.
To me directly, no, I was outside the hospital room.
Who did he tell that to?
The other traffic officers and the nurse.
So that's on that video.
Yes.
Okay. At some point while you're standing there, Stein walks over. Is that correct?
Stein walked over to me a couple times at different locations. Which time are you talking
While
about?
you were with Mr. Wissington and Mr. Riley initially.
Yes.
And what did he say?
He was,
Just, I'd ask for the limiting instruction that we discussed before pursuant to.
First off, let's clarify the question. What did who say? Stein?
What did Stein say when he came down?
And I'm objecting just to yours.
It's not for the truth of the matter, sir. It's just to show the continuing course of conduct.
Overruled, you can answer that.
Stein, I think, was, I don't really completely recall 100% what he said, but he was asking about what was going on, what gathered from the two individuals that were there.
All right. And so you started to explain to Stein what information you had gathered.
Correct.
And what did you tell, and what did you tell Stein? What did you tell Stein at that point about what they had said?
So at this point, Judge, I'm asking for the limiting instruction. He has no witness to recount the statement. I understand of that witness is not here.
Sidebar. Deemer, ask the question, and then I'll give the limiting instruction, and then she's going to answer.
Okay.
Wait to hear them.
Ready? So while Stein is there, you are asked by Stein what's going on, correct?
Correct.
At that point, do you tell Stein what you had gathered information from Trent Wissington?
Yes.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we anticipate that the witness is going to talk about is hearsay. It's coming in not for the truth of the matter asserted, but literally it's coming in for subsequent officer conduct. It can be only used for that purpose. All right. You may answer, ma'am.
All right. What did you tell Stein that Trent Wissington had said?
That Trent had observed the body momentarily stop at the intersection and proceed to the intersection.
Anything else?
I don't recall the full conversation.
And what was Stein's reaction to that?
Disbelief. I'm not Stein, Officer Stein, so I couldn't tell you what his.
Well, you can comment on what his face looked like.
A little surprised.
Did Mr. Wissington add some details about where it was when he had observed this?
Where who was?
Where Mr. Wissington was?
Yes.
Where did he tell you he was coming from?
Which time?
Again, this is the very first time. Again, this is not used for the truth of the matter, but what he told you at that time.
At one point, he told me he was standing next to his door outside of his apartment on the back, and then he ran off. And then the second time, when I pulled him aside, he told me he was walking with the vehicle, going the same direction as the vehicle, when he saw him momentarily stop and yield, and then proceed through the intersection when the accident happened.
And
There's no question.
I know I'm looking up short. Just wanted to show you guys.
Mr. Deemer, what are we showing?
This is part of the street video that's already been admitted into evidence.
Can I show you this?
And actually,
A
This is Exhibit A,
14A.
14A.
do you recognize that as being the alley at St. Charles?
It is
Do you recognize anybody in that picture?
possibly is Mr. Trent, but he was not wearing a plaid jacket when I talked to him, nor did I see him with one.
But he had told you that he had been walking from his work, is that correct?
Yes.
So if that's walking from the Marriott towards his place of business, that seems to be consistent, wouldn't it?
Yes, he was walking at the Marriott. Marriott's at the end of the east side of the street. He's walking west to his apartment.
Stein leaves where you guys are, correct?
I don't recall.
At some point, at about, your video and his video, don't match, right? Stein's video and your video are on different times, right?
No, I don't know. I did not see his video.
All right. You activated yours when you got there, correct?
Yes.
And to the best of your knowledge, had Stein activated his on the way there?
I don't know.
At some point, did Stein come back from where Sergeant Marks was and make a comment to you about what he was going to do with Dana?
Yes, he did.
And what did he tell you?
He said we were going to probably take him, put him in custody, take him into custody.
So he said, we might have to take him to jail, right?
Yes.
Okay. At that time, did you have evidence that Daniel was drunk?
No.
At that time, had you called in a DRE to check out Daniel?
That is not my position to do so.
Not my question. My question was, did you call in a drug recognition expert?
No.
Okay. So Stein is still nearby, and you make a comment about what what you believe had happened at the intersection.
I don't recall.
Do you kind of go to Stein and tell him, you know, what Trent had said, and what was Stein's reaction at that point?
I don't recall.
Would watching the video help refresh your recollection on that?
What's the relevance?
Sorry, what?
Is,
You're asking me the relevance?
yeah.
Well, I'm trying to find out whether or not you were still trying to tell Stein what you believed you had gathered from the witness, Mr. Wisington.
I told, right?
You did, right?
Yes.
You related to Stein, right?
Yes, I did.
And what was Stein's reaction the first time you related to him again after he said, we're going to take him to jail?
I don't recall what Stein's reaction was the second time.
Did he kind of laugh?
I don't recall.
Did he kind of sort of say, no way he was doing 20?
I don't recall if he did.
Would it help if you watched the video?
Yes.
Sorry. 10:25. You watched the video?
Yes.
That's your body camera video?
Yes.
Does it help refresh your recollection?
Yes.
How many different times did you try and tell Stein what the witness said? More than once, right?
More than once.
All right. Did he laugh at one of those?
He wasn't on the video. He wasn't laughing at me telling him that he was. There was two other officers that were standing there.
Oh, they were laughing.
No, the officer Stein did turn away from me and laugh, but he wasn't responding to me.
Okay. So he turned away and laughed.
I'm not sure what he was laughing about.
Just after you had responded to him again about what Trent Wisington had said.
Yes.
Okay. He turned around and he laughed.
Yeah, he was turning and looking at somebody else or behind him.
Stein made a statement to you that everybody is saying he was doing at least 60, right?
Yes.
Did you know who Stein had talked to at that point?
No, I did not.
So you were not aware that the only person that had made any statement to Stein was in front of Marks, and that was Janae's father.
Objection, called for speculation as to what Mr. Officer Stein.
Just clarifying that you didn't know that.
How would, she can answer if she knows.
How would I know that?
Okay.
We were all separated and doing different, moving parts, doing different things.
All right. Did you ask him who everybody was?
No, I did not.
Did Stein tell you how many witnesses he had talked to?
He did not.
And he never gave you an explanation of who everybody was when he said that everybody was saying he was doing 60.
No, he didn't.
few minutes later, Stein comes to you and he says, we're going to put him in cuffs real quick, right?
Yes.
Do you know where Stein was coming from?
No, I do not.
You didn't see him with Marks just before he said that to you?
I did not.
Did he tell you that he was going to arrest him for a DUI?
He did not tell me what he was going to arrest him for.
Did he tell you that he was going to detain him?
No, we were just putting him in cuffs and then going to put him in our car momentarily.
What's the difference between a detention and an arrest?
Arrestee would,
The judge just said that we're going to detain him, and I'm trying to find out what the difference is
I believe your
between.
question was, Officer Stein said he was going to detain him, correct?
I'm just asking
So
if
Officer
she's.
Stein was going to answer that question. This witness can't answer that question. What Officer Stein thought detention differences were.
When Daniel was being placed in handcuffs, was he compliant?
yes,
Was he aggressive?
no,
Did he look drunk?
no,
Did you order in a DRE at that time?
no,
Was the scent of overwhelming pot still there?
yes.
Were you guys commenting about that?
I don't think so.
In fact, the comment was when there was something discovered in his man bag, that Stein laughed and said, pot's legal now, right?
Yes,
You laughed too, didn't you?
yes,
So you had seen pot in his bag, you said there was this overwhelming smell of pot, and you didn't call in a drug recognition expert?
that is a supervisor's position.
So that would have been Marks, right?
Correct.
Did you tell Marks that he smelled like pot?
I did not have a chance to talk to Marks about any of it.
You actually saw Daniel standing next to Marks earlier, didn't you?
Yes,
So if he had this overwhelming smell of pot, that might have been something that Stein would have been able to smell, or I'm sorry, Marks would have been able to smell if he was that close to him?
probably.
Sustained.
Did Daniel insist while he was being arrested that he wasn't going that fast?
Yes,
Did he question why he was being detained for reckless driving?
I don't recall.
Looking at the video,
Yes,
that helped refresh your recollection?
yes,
Okay. Did Daniel then question the statement that he was being arrested for reckless driving?
yes,
Also during that exchange, you saw that they removed the phone that Daniel had been working with, right?
yes,
And was it handed back to somebody in that video?
it was,
Was it handed back to Mr. Wissington?
yes.
At that point, did Stein ask you for the information regarding Trent Wissington there at the arrest?
No,
Did Stein ever ask you for information regarding the identity of Trent Wissington?
Object to relevance, Your Honor, since that officer did not write the report.
It's irrelevant.
Just asking how the information was shared.
She wouldn't be in a position to receive it, so ask another question.
Well, you wrote down his information, right?
Correct.
What did you do with that information?
I gave to the officer, the traffic officer who was writing the report.
When did you give it that to him?
I believe I emailed it to him, I believe,
And when was that?
that night.
Did you have a copy of that email by any chance?
I don't know.
Do you have a copy of that note?
I don't think so.
Why did you email that to him?
Because it was just an easier way for him to not lose track of information.
Anybody say that they were going to arrest Daniel for weed?
On scene, no.
Well, did you seize the weed?
I did not.
Whose job was that?
It would have been the booking officers.
Did you ask anybody to test it?
No.
You know if Marks did?
No.
Stein?
Objection calls for speculation.
Staying.
So it's actually speculation that that was weed. Right?
I don't know. He admitted it was.
You didn't test it to confirm it.
No, he stated it was.
Sustained. Ask another question.
You were kind of still there after Daniel was arrested, and you were still looking to find the drivers of the white sedan, weren't you?
No, I was not.
You didn't walk around and say, where'd those girls go?
No, I don't think I would never had any involvement with the white sedan.
Would watching your body camera video help?
She didn't say that she didn't remember. She said no.
Are you sure you didn't look for them at 19 minutes? Ask where the girls went?
I had never had a conversation with the girls.
I'm not asking if you had a conversation with them. I'm asking if, after Daniel was arrested, you were still looking for the girls, the drivers of the white sedan.
It's been asked and answered twice.
Were you not still trying to investigate as to what the drivers of the white car had said?
No.
Mr. Deemer, you're rephrasing the same question over and over. Please move on.
You had seen the front end of the Malibu, right? At that point, at some point, you walked around the Malibu, right?
I walked close by, yes.
You had walked around the Audi.
Yes.
Was the evidence consistent that the Audi had been hit in a T-bone style by the Malibu?
Yes.
Did you have a conversation about 40 minutes into your body-worn camera with Stein about how he perceived the accident still had taken place?
He gave him his perception
And what was that?
that he was excessively speeding and couldn't have stopped at that intersection.
Did he tell you how the cars came together?
I don't recall that.
Would watching the video help refresh your recollection on that? Did that help refresh your recollection?
Yes.
And did Officer Stein describe to you that the white sedan and the Audi had collided tip to tip?
Yes.
Did you ever hear from Chapo or anybody else what the occupants of the Malibu said?
No, I did not.
And your testimony was you weren't still looking for him after Daniel had been arrested.
No.
You weren't asking people at the scene where the girls went.
If I had asked, it wasn't to find them. It was, there was other EMS vehicles there. So I was wondering who got transported where.
You weren't looking to try and interview.
No, not at all.
Any redirect?
Yes,
Can I ask that the witness be allowed to step down to make use of demonstrative?
You may.
Officer Fournie, could you show the jury where the yield sign was at the time of this collision?
The yield sign is over here in this corner.
And can you show the jury where Janae was when you arrived on the scene?
Janae was over here on the ground.
Ma'am, I'm not, actually, you can stay on this side. The jury's behind you, can't
Oh,
see.
sorry.
Okay. You can resume the stand. Thank you. I just want to make something really clear to the jury. Daniel Riley told you he stopped at this yield sign.
Yes, sir.
He told you he was going 15 to 20 miles an hour.
That's correct.
And then when you told him Janae was a pedestrian, he said, no, she was ejected from the Malibu.
He didn't specifically say he was ejected from the Malibu. The other thing is there was a white car that was parked in front of the other parked vehicles, so I wasn't sure which white car they were referring to.
And he didn't know where Janae had come from.
No, he did not. Neither one of them
He
did.
indicated that he was aware there was a pedestrian at that intersection.
No, he did not.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Fields?
No, Your Honor.
Any recross?
No.
As officer, free to go?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.